are you so long? Huh?
Anyways, for the first time ever, and definitely not 30 seconds ago, welcome to our unnamed podcast.
Unnamed podcast, yes.
Unnamed, largely unscripted.
Completely unscripted.
Yeah, it's not scripted. Not sponsored. What are we doing here? Podcast.
That's a good name. What are we doing? Podcast.
That's kind of existential, too. What are we doing here?
True. Actually, I think
What are we doing here?
Sorry
what are
for
we
the
doing
noise.
here?
Oh. Pat.
I guess we could answer that question in a technical sense. What are we doing
Here.
here?
Here, as you can see, is the skyline of Brooklyn, New York.
New York, isn't it beautiful?
Well, it's a little bit of Manhattan.
Yeah.
But then, like, most of that back there is going to be Brooklyn. So, yeah, we're here in New York. Figured it'd be a cool, beautiful first place to film a podcast before we go back home and the rest of the podcast is filmed in a dungeon.
Yeah. We were going to bring 2 chairs for those who are watching. A chair here, which he's sitting in, and another chair. But we ran into a little trouble getting it into this section because it's very long.
Yeah.
But we did our best, so.
We banged up the wall. Don't tell the hotel, please.
We banged up the wall. Or the security deposit? Oh my gosh. So most of the time, you pay a security deposit when you check into a hotel. It's usually like $70, $100. I've seen like $150. And when we checked in, very nonchalantly, the gentleman who was helping us was like, okay, it's going to be $150 per night. Okay, I'm just going to need a card on file. I'm like, I'm sorry, $150 per night. Can you give me the total, please? Well, I actually didn't say that. I had to do it in my head. But then on the screen pops up $750. That is not something you just slip in.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, so yeah, we will not be, oh gosh, that is noticeable. It's evidence. This is evidence. We gotta cut this out.
Oh,
Gotta blur it.
No, that's fine. Because there's plenty of other chips here. Now we're good.
But yeah,
Look, now it doesn't even look like anything happened.
it's not even there.
I'm sure they're not going to be looking at the corners of the walls.
No. This is probably for like mass destruction parties. Not that we could fit a party in here. We couldn't even fit 2 chairs
Yeah.
over here. But what are we doing here?
Here in New York?
In New York. Yes.
Well, I feel like you're better off saying this than me. I feel.
Oh.
It's your gift to me, so.
That's true. So this is our 3rd time in New York. But the first 2 times were both for some type of work or sponsorship. Well, I guess the last time we came for Comic-Con, and then I found
It became
sponsorships.
work, yeah.
It became work in the end, and we both got sick at like the last day or so. So this is our first time in New York with no work, which is somewhat funny saying that, considering we're sitting here recording a podcast and starting a brand new project. But no external sponsor promotion work,
Yes.
which is very nice. But the reason we're specifically in New York is because Joshua expressed a desire to see The Great Gatsby on Broadway.
A new show.
A new show.
Originally was playing in the Paper Mill Theater in New Jersey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it had a completely sold out run. So then it got moved to Broadway. So.
How many times have you read The Great Gatsby?
I want to say 3.
3 times.
3, yeah.
It's like 120 pages. You could read it in like
Is it? No,
an
it's not.
afternoon.
It's like 200 pages now.
Is it? It's a pretty thin book.
It is a thin. I think it's about 200 pages.
Look it up. Good reads it right now while I finish telling them why we're here. Yes, so my birthday gift to Joshua was to come to New York for a longer amount of time than we have been here in the past.
In most editions, it's 180.
Oh.
Still,
well, you're
very,
closer.
Very readable.
Very readable. You could read it in
If you haven't
probably
read
2
it.
days.
But if you're at least in California, if you went through the California public school system, you probably read it in high school.
I did not. Like a dirty private school, I did not read The Great Gatsby.
Sad.
It's a shame, but at the same time, I feel like I appreciate literature more now. Like there were a few books that I enjoyed in high school and junior high, but there's always the component of like you have to read it because it's school. But reading it knowing that it was one of your favorite books, that made it a lot more meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're here primarily to see The Great Gatsby, which is actually tonight in an hour and a half.
Nice.
So we're cutting it a little bit close here. And we kind of do the same thing on trips. We sleep in. We've slept in so bad. We have not recovered from jet lag in any way. We've woken up between noon and 2 p.m. every day since we got
Which
here.
ironically is earlier than we would wake up.
Yeah. That's what I keep telling myself.
Like when you do the time change, like 9 a.m., that's earlier than at least I would wake up.
Yeah.
And probably like 50-50 for you.
I wake up and I immediately hate myself. I'm like, okay, no, it's only like 11 our time. So it's like not that bad. I opened my phone yesterday and I saw I think it was about 2 p.m. and I saw a good morning tweet from Jody from like 40 minutes ago. I'm like, okay, it's morning somewhere. Yeah, we saw an impromptu show 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Which was?
Merrily We Roll Along, which is a Stephen Sondheim play, the iconic Stephen Sondheim. And it's actually a play that flopped when he first came out with it. The story is told backwards, so the first scene of the play, or the musical, is in normal storytelling, would be the last thing that you see. But he tells it from end to beginning. And so at the time, I believe it came out in like 1981. It just flopped on Broadway, and then it got moved off Broadway and did a little bit of a tour. Like I went to the West End for a little bit, and I saw like Wayne Brady played the main character in San Diego, which is like super. I didn't even know it was like that in San Diego. Anyways, but yeah, so they revived it, and it's got Jonathan Groff, who you guys probably know as Kristoff from Frozen, Detective something from Mindhunter. I haven't seen that show. King George from Hamilton, and plenty of other things. Daniel Radcliffe as Charlie Kringus.
I'm suddenly paranoid it's not recording, so I'm just going to check really quick. Okay, we're good.
Daniel Radcliffe as Charlie Kringus, I think is his name. And you guys might know him from...
You might know.
Swiss Army Man.
From that one weird horror movie that he did.
Yeah.
With like the dead body.
That's Swiss Army Man, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That one. That's obviously...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know
iconic.
What else... I don't know what else they might know him from.
He's kind of an indie actor.
He's not really that well known. And then Lindsay Mendez plays Mary. Was it the character's name?
Yes.
But she wasn't on that night, so we got her understudy, and
who was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was an understudy?
Yeah, that was an understudy, yeah.
Her voice was incredible.
Yeah. But very, very fun play.
Yeah.
I was reading in reviews that because Stephen Sondheim died in 2021, so a lot of people were wishing that he was able to see his musical revived and like done well and received well. But yeah, he sadly passed a couple years ago. But overall, it was so fun. It was cool seeing a different side of Daniel Radcliffe. And
yeah, they were all so good. Did you? I feel like I've been spending time just throughout the last day or two just thinking about it and marinating, or letting it marinate more like. Did you cry at all during the play? Or musical, excuse me.
I think there was a part where I almost did, but I didn't. No. Did you?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that much because I'm a big softie.
What part?
It was...
Spoilers?
Yes. It was Daniel Radcliffe's first song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When he's just like...
Yeah, just like unleashing all of his pain on It was probably a mixture of the song itself and the story, and thinking about my own like career and times where I feel like I've gone a bit more in the without any spoilers, in the direction that the main character protagonist ish goes.
Jonathan Groff's character.
Yes.
Frank.
Yeah. Just kind of losing way from the creative side of art and more into the corpa technical bottom line type stuff.
Yeah. That was my favorite song in the whole musical.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Me too. Daniel Radcliffe. I didn't know he could sing. And
yeah.
He sang. Never did I think I'd see Daniel Radcliffe dancing around in a tutu. Remember that part?
Why don't I remember that part?
I don't know. How do you not remember that? It was like very brief, like 2 seconds. He flashed on the stage and
I
danced
don't...
around. It was during probably like the third to last scene.
Huh.
So one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's also got hops.
Yeah, he
can
does.
jump.
That dude, there was one scene where he
jumps his own height.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it's not saying much because bro's like 5'2", but
he was.
He's not actually 5'2", but he's pretty short.
He is short, and the outfit didn't make him look any taller.
His outfit with that brown corduroy suit.
Yeah.
That suit was fire. I'd wear that suit.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Merrily we go along.
So we were gonna watch. It was between that one and Hades Town,
Yeah.
but Jordan Fisher is taking a hiatus for the month of April on Hades Town. So
dang it. So we just saw
Daniel
our
Radcliffe.
favorite indie actor, Daniel
Yeah.
Radcliffe, instead.
But yeah. So first episode
Yes.
ever of us together. Mm-hmm. We're in New York, having fun, celebrating, watching musicals,
Yeah.
shopping. But that's not what this podcast is about.
No.
So we got to answer 3 questions. Who are we? What do we do? And why are we doing this?
Yes.
All right.
Simple agenda
Simple
for today.
agenda. And then, it is a little scripted, but it's an introductory type.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the third question.
Yeah.
So you'll have to listen to the end or skip, but don't do that. That's mean. You can skip, whatever. So, who are we?
I am Joshua, aka Spro.
Yes. And I'm Dara, aka Dish.
And we are husband and wife.
Yeah.
Of 5 years. Just celebrated in January.
Yeah.
And
we both work in the content.
wait, before we get to what do we do?
Right.
Let's talk
second
about
question.
more about ourselves and how we, because I feel like I get the question a decent amount in my chat. I'm sure you probably get it in your chat. You just probably don't see it as much, but
I get a lot of "you're married" in my chat. You have a husband.
She does. 5 years. That's half a decade. That's like
weird
older
to
than
think
most
about.
like people.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true.
That's older than some people.
That's definitely older than some people.
That's older than people who are 4 and under.
That's true.
If you think about it.
If you think about okay, where were we? You were saying
Who we are.
yes, you were saying that our marriage is older than anyone who's 4 years old.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yummy. Looks delicious.
So good. I love ginger. Drinks.
All right. So, we're talking about the question that people ask me, and I know that they probably ask you, and they're always like, "You have a husband?" And yeah. So, how did we meet?
How did we meet? Are we telling the real story, or the not PG? What's the word? Less questions, less eyebrow raise answer.
How about So she was dating somebody.
Yes, I was dating someone.
And I was friends with that person and their siblings. And one of the siblings just brought her around to an event. I don't remember if it was a birthday thing or if we might have just been getting together for like
We got
Halloween.
together to watch a Harry Potter movie.
Is anyone significant in that Harry Potter movie?
Not that I can remember.
I can't remember Alan Rickman, but that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, no crazy actor that we've.
Nobody that's on Broadway right now.
No, not much crossover in that sphere.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, my boyfriend at the time, his sister, brought me. She like kind of brought me into her friend group, and he was a part of that friend group.
Right.
So the first thing that she brought me to was like a Harry Potter watch party.
Yeah.
That you guys were like going through.
Yeah. So it was at my best friend's house, and I see my friend walk through the door, and then Dara walks in behind her, and I'm literally like standing, like my buddy's kitchen has an aisle, and my buddy's kitchen has an island, like, you know, where you like cut stuff, and so him and I are like standing behind the island, and the door is this way, so she's coming in this way, so I'm like perpendicular to her, and I see her walk in, and my buddy's standing to my left, and I slam my hand on my buddy's chest, and I grab it, and I'm like, bro, who is she? And he doesn't know. He like shrugs and is like, I don't know, like, let's go find out type thing. And he was also there with his girlfriend. Yeah, they were dating at the time. Yeah, he was there with his girlfriend, who's so that he's my best friend, and his girlfriend, now wife, is
my best friend.
Her best friend,
my Gabby, if you watch my streams and videos, you probably know her.
Yeah. So then we go over, say hi, we meet, and it's just like a couple minutes later I find out. Like, I think the introduction was like, oh, this is my brother's girlfriend. And it was like, just like a completely deflating moment.
Wait, didn't your buddy ask you a question, ironically?
Oh, yeah.
It's important.
True, yeah, I forgot about that. How did he phrase it?
Are you gonna marry that girl?
Yeah, something like that. It's like, are you gonna marry that girl? To which I said yes.
That's like a joke.
And then, a joke. And then moments later, that's when we walked over and then found out that was, she was dating somebody.
Yeah.
So it was, oh my goodness, who is that girl? I don't know, bro. Are you gonna marry her? Yeah, I'm gonna marry her. Oh, hi, I'm Dish. I'm dating blah, blah, blah. Dish. Oh, okay, that's great. I'm going to die now.
Okay, dream crushed. It's over.
So then, yeah, we talked that night, and it was a good time, and we saw each other a few more times while you were dating, and every time we talked, it was the easiest, smoothest thing. And I remember, like, almost every time I would get done talking with her, I would just like go to my friend and I'd just be like, bro, I can't, like, it's so easy, like, it's so frustrating because it's I've never, like, it's never been so easy talking to somebody like this before.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's news to me.
And then
I didn't have any, like, there was no foul play, okay? Yeah, I didn't have any, like, feelings for him or anything.
Yeah, and I wasn't.
We weren't talking alone or anything.
Yeah, it was just like at parties. Always in
groups. Yeah. Just want a disclaimer.
Yeah. It was always part because, again, I was friends with this family, and so, like, parties and.
And you liked somebody else at the time.
Yeah, I liked the sister at the time. So, no, they were just like, yeah. But anyway, so we were like all. Yeah, it wasn't like. Oh, why are you always like showing up at this person's house?
Oh,
like, this, like,
it was just we saw each other whenever
our lives just like out. It was like a, what is it called?
Adjacent.
No, the ovals that like overlap.
Oh yeah, the Venn diagram.
Yeah, the Venn diagram.
We're like in each other's lives, but purely like a circumstantial way. But yeah, the thing I remember the most about him at that time was that he didn't talk a lot. Like, he didn't I don't know. I was in college at the time, and I feel like a lot of guys at that age are just like peacocking all the time, and you know, you're like surrounded by dudes and surrounded by girls, and they're just like, I mean, girls probably do it too, but I don't know. I was getting sick of the men at my college always trying to impress or always trying to get attention. That's, I think, you know what, I think it's just common amongst that age. We were like, what, 22, 20, no, I was 21.
21?
2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, 21-year-old, that's probably all I need to say about that. So what I noticed about him that was so unique is that whenever he talked, people listened, and he never seemed to speak more than what was necessary to, like, say what he wanted to say. And I always found what he said, like, easy to understand, clear, intelligent, and interesting. And yeah, when he talked, people listen. I still think that's true.
That's very nice.
It's just the truth.
So then we'll just fast forward through
Yeah.
a little bit of this story, and then you and that guy, there was a period of time where we just, things happened and we just weren't seeing each other.
Yeah.
Things, you know, just natural, like, friend group stuff, especially when you're at that age, just the ebbs and flows of life. And so I just stopped seeing her as much, if at all. I probably hadn't seen her in a very long time. And then
it'd been at least a couple months.
Just kind of, you know, didn't really think much and just kind of, like, moved on to doing our own things. And then you and that person broke up. And then
I think probably 6 months passed, 5 to 6 months passed. And at the time, I was just, like, content to be single, was not interested in dating whatsoever. I kind of, not to get too down in the, like, gritty details, but I just didn't feel like I was ever going to find somebody who I didn't have to, like, fundamentally change to be with. So how we met, again, how we reconnected, is that I slid into his Instagram DMs. I, like, found a Instagram story that I could reply to, because I wanted to set him up with a friend, which, in hindsight, and honestly, I should have realized this at the time, but that would have never worked.
Yes.
Would have never worked.
Also would have said no immediately.
You would have said no. Yeah. Anyway, we started talking. He found a way to start texting. Like, he brought up, like, one of my favorite bands and found a way to, you know, just keep the conversation going.
Because we were talking on Instagram DMs for a little while, and I was like, okay, I gotta, like, move this to
Let's
texting.
make this more serious.
And so I was just like, oh, I know she likes the 1975.
Yeah.
And the 1975 had released a single that weekend, and I just, like, I copied the link from Spotify, I sent it. It was Milk, and I'd never heard that song before because I'm not, like, a 1975 OG. So I sent it to her, and I was like, have you heard this song yet? And, like, exclamation points and question marks.
Have you heard this?
And she was like, yeah, you freaking normie.
No, I did not say that. I don't remember exactly what I said.
She let me down easy.
I was nice. I couldn't lie. Be like, oh my gosh, that's a brand new song.
Yeah.
Because the OGs know that it's on the self-titled album after, like, 4 minutes of dead silence. Isn't it? I actually don't remember what song it's on, so not anymore. I'm not that serious about it anymore. But yeah, that's how we started talking. We've spent a long time just...
We never stopped. Since that day, we have not stopped talking.
No, yeah, we just started talking and never stopped. And we were friends for a while. I knew that he liked me, but it took me a while to get ready to, like, date in any way. And he was very patient and purposeful and wise. Do the whole thing. And
I used my best friend and his wife. At this point now, that girl he was dating, Gabby, they were dating when we first met her. Potentially engaged.
I think they were engaged.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well,
No, because I think they got engaged in May.
Oh, when we first
When we
started
first
hanging out.
met.
Yeah.
When we first met. And then by the time her and I reconnected and started talking,
Yeah.
they were married by that point.
Yes. They
and-
like just recently gotten married.
Yeah. And so I was pretty much just like, I knew that like Gabby and Dara like liked each other and liked hanging out. So I was just constantly like, dude, like, let's go bowling and like do something. Like,
Let's get all of us in the same room somehow.
yeah, because you don't want to be like going on like solo dates all the time. Like, especially as a dude, like you kind of just want to be giving girls space and time to think. When
At
you're
least
just,
in like our position, that was the
Yeah.
best thing to do. Less pressure.
yeah, I think that majority of the time you just put less pressure on.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody's going to be different, but I'd say majority of the time, if you're at least starting off, like not putting on a lot of pressure, not demanding to be hanging out all the time, like
Yeah.
things are going to work out better for you than not.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's true.
So we did that, and then I got us tickets to see Mute. No. I got tickets to see Mute Math with 3 other friends, completely unrelated to anything going on. And then one of my friends was, so 2 of them were married, and then one of them just had to back out. So I had an extra ticket, and so then I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna ask Dara. And so I asked her, and she, I think, reluctantly said yeah. I don't know.
Well, I think I really didn't want to give you the impression that I was like wanted to date in any way at that point, I guess. Like, I just didn't want the pressure of it. So I think, didn't you say that you pretended to like sell me the ticket, but I only paid like $20, but it was like a $60-$80 ticket or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
I
took
did.
the pressure off by doing that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid for my ticket. But I actually was, once we got there and I realized we were with a married couple, I was like,
That she didn't know.
that I didn't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, now I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I started to freak out a little bit, but I held it in, I think.
Yeah. So then we watched, it was Mute Math playing at the, why can't I think of the name? The Wiltern.
The Wiltern.
The Wiltern in LA. And then...
Great concert,
great
by the
show,
way.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait for them to go out again on tour. And then after that, we went to Denny's.
Went to Denny's and oh yeah, I forget about that part.
Yeah.
Went to Denny's
Talked.
and we hung out for like, I mean, it was the same as it was before. He was so easy to talk to and like nice to listen to. So when he was very perceptive of where I was at, which was very good because I wanted to spend time with him. Like, despite the fact that I was scared and nervous about getting into any sort of dating situation, I wanted to hang out with him and I couldn't help but talk to him. So he being wise, rode the line really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great night.
Yeah. And after that, I don't really know what kind of happened after that. The next thing I can think of is just...
We just hung out a lot.
Yeah.
Hung out with friends. You invited me to stuff. It probably was...
But this was all like within a month.
Yeah, it was a month of not dating, but hanging out.
Hanging out
And
and
kind
stuff.
of dating, but it was all very unspoken.
Yeah. And then there just came a point where, for me, I was just like, okay, I can't be like... I can't just keep... what am I trying to say here? Like, I can't just keep pursuing nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, after this time that we hung out...
and I think you knew that I liked you. And
yes.
that I did want to date you, and at that point I was just scared.
Yeah, I knew she had
It wasn't
some
like
sort of
pressuring
feelings.
me into dating.
Yeah, I knew she
per
had
se.
some sort of feelings,
I
but
did.
that she was like hesitant because of just like past mistakes and stuff like that. So I pretty much told her like, you can be scared forever, essentially, like, and you can keep being scared, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Or you can just take a risk, jump out, and see what happens. And then you looked at me and you're like, all right. And then I was literally like, wait, what? And you're like, okay, let's do it. And then I was like, I was so shocked. I was like, that worked? Like, I felt, okay. I felt like Ted Mosby, like, in that situation, just, like, being, like, a hopeless romantic, giving this, like, long, like, monologue about love and taking risks and fighting for love. And then you were like, yeah, okay, sounds good. And I was like, wait, this Ted Mosby spiel didn't just work, did it?
I definitely needed the push. He also, I don't remember the details of it, but you definitely used a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah, something about Voldemort.
Yeah, something about Voldemort and, like, the creating fear in your brain. It was good and it was effective, but I don't remember it at all.
Yeah, I think it was just about, like, I think because we didn't really talk about it much, because I didn't bother you about it.
No.
And I think I was just like, this can just be like this Voldemort. We never talk about it, but it's like this fear that's like kind of existing, or we just jump and.
I should mention that, just for more context, the relationship I was in before was like very tumultuous, and I don't think I was mature enough to see it accurately. So I was mostly just afraid of pain. I was afraid of pain. I was afraid of like breakdown. I was afraid of not being myself or not being able to be myself in a relationship, which was, I think I knew mentally that wasn't going to happen with him, because he was the only guy I'd ever met that I did feel like I could be fully myself. But it was just like a hesitation, emotional, like, fear that I think that I had. So, I should also mention that the day after we had started talking, like when we had talked for like a full day, me and my dad went surfing. Yes, I know, very cool. We don't surf anymore, unfortunately. I told him while we were on the water that I think I'm gonna marry him, even though I had no feelings for him yet. I'm just that
smooth.
He's just that guy. He's just him, and I knew he was him, and it was very much when you know kind of moment. Even though my heart didn't know, I definitely could tell.
Yeah.
I could feel it coming, which was a bit scary also.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then we dated and then we got married.
We missed a couple key parts in the story.
Oh,
the first time we hung out was because you spilled water on your laptop.
Oh, yeah.
She spilled water on her laptop, and I was working IT at the time. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, totally, I can fix it. So
he met me to fix it.
I sent her, like, links to, like, buy this stuff, and then I fixed it, and then I fixed it incorrectly. Like, I put the battery in the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
And it still wasn't working.
I had to do it again, and
I think I had to come back to do it again, right?
Yes, he had to come over to my house. The first time we met at coffee.
Yeah.
And then the next time we met, you came over to my house.
Yeah, and that's when I met your
That's when you met my parents.
And, yeah. And then, so that was just like a fun, quirky story.
I forget that part.
Yeah. And then, the other one just left me.
Acts of service, people. You might find your one true love that way.
If you learn IT and figure out how to replace batteries in laptops. But it was a Mac laptop, which these days you can't really do anymore. It was like an older one. But yeah.
And you find yourself a clumsy person who spills everything on everything.
True.
And a match made in heaven.
So we started dating. We dated for 9 months, and then we got engaged. And then
short time for dating, I know, but like I said, we knew that we were going to get married. So why wait?
Yeah. So I had plans to take her up to Sacramento to propose by the river. I had like friends, actually the same friends that went with us to the Mute Math concert. They're professional photographers, and their career has blown up since. But I had like contracted them to like drive up to Sacramento, hide, take pictures, and then I got the ring, and then
he organized a whole trip
entire trip with friends, with secret people making their way up there to take photos. And then I got the ring, and it burned a hole in my pocket, and I just couldn't wait. So then one day at work, I couldn't wait. So I called her dad, and I was like, hey, I know he had already given me his blessing.
Yeah.
I'd already done that before I bought the ring. And then I called him, and I was like, hey, I know I said it was going to be this time, but it's actually going to be tonight. So if you want to meet us here at this place, you and the fam are welcome. And then I called my buddy best friend, and then his name is Wesley and Gabby, and called them. And then I was like, hey, I'm proposing tonight. We can still go to Sacramento or we can not. Like, it doesn't matter, but this is what we're doing. So, like, cool, we'll be there. Called some other friends, did the same thing. Called the photographers, told them. It ended up being a lot cheaper doing it this way, too, which was nice.
Yeah.
Called them, told them.
So we got a video of our engagement this time.
So then I called everybody, and I got everybody to adjust plans to somehow spontaneously go the day of. I don't know how it worked, but everybody
and it was
cool
not in the city that we lived.
No,
it was far.
It's like an hour away.
Yeah.
So then I called her, and I was just like, hey, spontaneously, you want to go here tonight? And she was like, yeah, that sounds fun. And so we drove up, and I'm driving up 10-2 on the steering wheel, just like.
He said, hey, do you want to go to the beach and write poetry and read?
Yeah.
That's about what you said.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
So.
Sure. Sounds great to me.
So I wasn't that nervous. Then we got about halfway there, and then that's when I got nervous.
I did not notice.
And so then we park, we get out, we sit and start reading, and then I started writing a poem. And then I give her the poem to read, and then she like looks at me, and the poem I don't even know where it is. It's probably
It's in the Fragmentaries.
In Fragmentaries book.
Yeah.
I definitely was like implying and hinting at like a future, like a lifelong future together and marriage and all that stuff. And so she got done reading it, and she just was like, "Oh, that's really nice."
Yeah, I think it went over my head.
I'm just too sophisticated a writer, you guys. And so, she just replied really nonchalantly, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, in my mind, I was like, okay, I expected a lot more emotion at this point. But, so this might be a, like, complete surprise to her, is, like, what I'm thinking. So then we're, like, sitting on these rocks, and then I stand up in front of her, and then I just see, like, the aha moment on her face, and then... Yeah, typical proposal at that point. I blacked out, really. Like, I don't remember what I said.
I don't remember either.
And then, then we went out to dinner with family after, and then we got married.
The next day.
Yeah, pretty much. 4.5 months later.
4.5 months later.
And now here we are, 5 years later, in New York City, 3 cats later.
Traveling
the world.
Drinking coffee and tea.
Drinking coffee.
Shopping. Streaming. Reading.
So that's our story.
Sleeping.
Obviously, there's 5 years worth of stories that we could tell, but we won't stuff that all into this
that was long enough.
But so that's who we are.
Yeah, that's who we are. To each other, I guess.
Yeah. That's how we came to be us, Dish and Spro. And what do we do?
What do we do? So I'm a streamer, YouTuber, content creator, internet personality. Primarily, before I did any gaming stuff, a lot of you already know that I started on TikTok, just doing, I developed this like memoir journal video format that I called Inner Monologue. And it was essentially a personal journal entry, usually working through some kind of like issue or thing that I'm thinking about, and creating a video to like complement or to show what it is that I was writing about. So I think in total I did about 20 of those. Some of them I don't like watch them. I don't want to say I don't feel proud of them, but there are a few that I do feel proud of, and I do still think like I think they're some of my like best, most inspired work. So that's how I started. And then when COVID hit, Joshua we used our,
Some money that we got from the wedding.
yes, we used some of the
I
money.
somehow convinced her to let me take that money when we were broke to build a PC.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why she said yes.
I'll tell you why. One, you hated your job.
I did.
And you were not happy there. And I wanted you to have something that allowed you to hang out with buddies at night and play games. And you wanted to stream, and I wanted you to do something that you liked and that you were proud of. So that's why I was happy to
So about a month after we got married,
consent to that.
got back from the honeymoon and, everything shipped. I built a PC and I started streaming in March 2018.
Yeah. And I did not have TikTok or anything
2019.
by that point. So this was the first movement toward content creation.
Yeah. And I wasn't I was just kind of turning on stream.
I'm sorry. I keep getting paranoid that it's gonna turn off somehow. Okay, we're good. Need to get a mirror or something.
So, yeah, I pretty much just play Fortnite with the boys and turn on stream and play Apex.
Casual.
Yeah, it was super casual, but I did that 3 times a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and maybe a weekend. I just did that because I despised my job at the time. It was just a lot of differing.
There's a lot of factors.
Oh, I remember the other thing. We had classes together our freshman year of college.
That's also an important detail.
Yeah, but we didn't know each other. But
he actually sat behind me in a or in a music class.
Yeah.
But we never talked because I'm really shy and he's also shy and reserved.
I just remember I was just oh, she's kind of weird, but she's cute. She just had this weird energy.
What's that?
It wasn't
weird energy.
I don't know. It wasn't
I'll take it.
Yeah, it was cute weird. She had a penny board, I think.
Oh my gosh. No, I didn't have a penny board. I couldn't afford one, but I did have a longboard.
Oh, a longboard, and she was different than...
I was just different. I was just not
anyways, that was the first time we ever had any semblance of an interaction with each other.
We actually had three classes together our freshman year. I ended up dropping one, so it was only 2. But yeah, that was the one, and it was a smaller class, but we never talked. And then the other one was a big relatively class, and we still never talked.
Talked. But anyways, so back to the...
What do we do?
Streaming. Yeah, so I just streamed very casually, hated my job, and then about a year after that, because that was March of 2019.
Yeah.
Then in March of 2020, COVID hits. Dish's TikTok is kind of taken off, and
I get let go from my job.
She gets let go from her job, and I'm pretty much telling her hey, you should start streaming. You have a pretty good following on TikTok, and
I had been live streaming on TikTok, just I just cook and chat with people, very casual.
Yeah. And so I was just Twitch is the platform. If you guys remember Twitch at the time, that was its heyday.
Yeah, it was.
It was just Ninja and Fortnite had taken the world by storm. And so it had just the amount of viewers that were on Twitch at the time was just insane. And it was just
and everyone was online.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, everyone was forced to be online. And so I was telling her, hey, you should stream. And she did.
I co-streamed. I would go live on TikTok and be like, hey, I'm live on Twitch. Come over here. And I built a small platform mostly on Animal Crossing, and then I ventured into Minecraft and Nintendo games and story-driven games, and then eventually I landed on Genshin, I think a week or 2 after it had come out. Didn't know anything about it, didn't really even understand gacha games, or the fact that it was open world and not a story-driven, you start in this area and you'll never be here again kind of place, because those were just the games that I was used to.
Yeah.
I gained a little bit when I was a kid, but we didn't have a lot of money, so the games that we played were somewhat limited. Also didn't have an Xbox or PlayStation, so I didn't really get exposed to a lot of story-driven RPGs, or definitely not any AAA RPGs until much later.
No.
Till Jedi Fallen Order, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was my first one. Yeah, so that's how I started. I kind of blew up with the first maybe 1.5 wave of Genshin content creators. Have been doing that for 3+ years now. Ventured a lot into other stuff. Moved more into artistic content again to some degree. Do other types of gaming, more lifestyle stuff. So yeah, this is just the next step, I think, the next thing that I'm doing, and this is the first time we're doing something together.
Collaborating. Yeah, we've never...
Which is odd.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and so during that time, while she's growing, I'm still working at this job, and then I ended up working at the same company, but I switched departments. I got out of IT, and I got into a department that I actually really enjoyed. But then there just came a point randomly where I was kind of at a stalemate at my job, where there was like promises of things to come, but I wasn't seeing any like care or action to move things forward. And there was just an opportunity for Dish and I to move. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, well, we can stay here, wait around, see what happens, and potentially miss out on this opportunity.
Yeah.
Or I quit, we move, we take this jump, and we see what happens. So we took the latter. We haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
And that sent me into doing full-time content too. So I also do Genshin and mostly Honkai stuff right now. But
Star Rail.
Yeah. Star Rail. You might have seen only a couple of my videos have gone viral. You might know me as the luckiest wishing spot, summoning for Raiden. Or on Twitter, you might know me for getting 3 black swans in 1 temple. And so I took like half of last year off. I was just dealing with a lot of like personal things and just working through them and learning a lot about myself and just some healthy needed time off being on the internet a lot. And so I'm back streaming, gaming. And I also have a side comic YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Which is like my like little hobby thing. So that does well. It's just we're just kind of like a content house.
Content house. Yeah. Sprodish content
Team 10.
House.
Who?
Team 10? Never heard of them. Hype House? What's that? Man, that time was weird. When we realized we were at like a fork, or it's like when you're on the highway and you see a sign that's like, this is the last exit for 50 miles. Exit here, or, we realized we probably weren't ever going to get to move away, and you might never leave that job. Yeah, because if we didn't leave now, it might not be ever.
At minimum, I would have been locked in for another 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. Yeah. And so it was kind of like it was a pretty sudden decision because, it was then or never.
Yeah.
So, but I don't regret it. I know you don't regret it.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now we live in a place that we love, and we have 3 cats. Even though we both were allergic at one point in our life, we just kind of brute forced through it with our first cat, and now we have 3 of them.
Ashy.
But don't tell our landlord because we're only allowed to have 2.
Shh, don't tell them.
Not that you know who they are, but.
All right. That's who we
last
are.
Question.
That's what we do. And what is this?
What is this?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Well, a lot of people have said that they use my stream like a podcast. So because of that, I've hesitated to start a podcast because I'm like, I just yap about whatever on stream. Like, stream is just podcasting with video games in the background, especially if you're doing something like Genshin.
Yeah.
Something that's not super competitive.
Right.
Or super like,
need your
structured.
Focus.
Yeah, it doesn't need my focus. So much of that time I just spend talking, hanging out with my chat. But
I just
What's
kind
my
of
butt? I don't know.
I just kind of sprung this on her. I was like, hey, I've done it a couple times in the past. I've been like an advocate for the people, where I'm just like, hey, you should start a podcast. And then she was like, yeah, like I don't really need to. And I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna pressure you. Like, just kind of like let her have it. A few months later, hey, I think you should start a podcast. And then I saw the interest grow a little bit. So
Yeah, people asked about Dish. I did do 10 episodes of a podcast with my dad called The Dish, and people have been asking to bring that back in some way, and I've just been like, but I stream, so like it's different.
But then I finally, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey, we should start a podcast.
And then I think a week ago I was like, you know what? We should start a podcast. And I know most of the people probably 9 times out of 10, people who say we should start a podcast should not start a podcast. But we're starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And we hope that if you like us and if you like gacha games, if you're involved in Hoyoverse stuff, if you enjoy pop culture, if you enjoy books, and talking about movies that we've seen, or cats, or personal stories, or life lessons, or marriage and dating advice, or just thoughts because we're not perfect, maybe you will like this podcast. So from what I understand from our conversation, we're not strictly defining this podcast. However, there's a few things that you could probably expect. We will talk about Genshin Impact. We'll talk about Star Rail. We'll talk about Hoyoverse stuff and things that are happening in the gacha sphere that we're in, because it's what we're most paying attention to.
We'll talk about state of the game type.
We'll talk
stuff.
about if there's conflict. We may weigh in on some
conflict game related, not people related.
Yes, no. This is not a drama cast. It will never be a drama cast. This is not a place to gather pitchforks in any way. Any conflict that is discussed here will be constructive, I hope, and will not be a place for venting and screaming.
Yeah.
Because we're not really venty, screamy people.
No.
And not really into like unnecessary negativity. So
Right. We're not perfect people.
No.
We don't play
Absolutely
a perfect
not.
game.
Absolutely not.
The people who make Genshin and Honkai, surprisingly, are not perfect people.
Shocking. I know.
Crazy. So when you just have a whole lot of imperfect people, imperfect things are going to happen. Yeah. And sometimes you can talk about those things. But that's it. I don't know why I said when.
When.
But when. What is my butt when?
But what's my butt? What's my when?
No, yeah. State
can...
of the game, because there's definitely a lot of conversation going on, especially because Honkai is killing it right now.
On all fronts, Honkai Star Rail is killing it.
Yeah, and Genshin is not.
Is killing something.
My will to play the game.
Yeah, I haven't logged in too much this month.
So, so you can expect that. Movies, stuff, I'm sure.
Don't hurt me, Hoyoverse.
Movies. We like movies.
We both read a lot right now.
Yeah.
And we're both people who have hobbies and interests that change over time. So we'll probably like different stuff in the future.
Yeah. Those are all things you can expect.
Yeah. Should we set any, ground rules? Because the only thing I'm thinking about right now is, in terms of concerns, is that this isn't necessarily a place... How do I say this? We're not going to talk about everything.
Yeah, no.
I should just say that. This isn't a free-for-all type of place, and there will be certain things that do get filtered out. But it's hard to necessarily define what that is.
Yeah.
Because it's going to vary. There's no 100% answer for what topics will and will not and will be on the table.
I think generally we are fans of gaming and pop culture, and that's an escape for us.
Yes.
And so we are not going to cloud the things that we find as an escape from the world with things that make the world difficult at times.
Yeah.
So we're going to just talk about a lot of fun things. We might have hard conversations about those fun things, but we're not going to like cloud like with, we're not going to.
We don't want you to listen to this podcast and feel weighed down by it.
Right.
And I think it's a really difficult line to draw in all types of content, especially in like the streamer, YouTuber space. Like, what should content creators weigh in on, and what should they not weigh in on? And what are our like responsibilities, but also what are our boundaries? And what purpose do we serve on the internet? So to some extent, I don't think we should set any hard and fast rules because we probably will break them.
For sure.
There will be some topics that our hearts are compelled to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be 100% happy-go-lucky, there's no problems in the world type of podcast, or type of rule, so to speak. But if we're not talking about something, please don't take it to mean that we don't care. But we want this, however long you spend with us, to be generally uplifting and encouraging.
Yeah.
And informative and funny or whatever.
For sure. And there's other creators who do, like, who only focus on the, difficult stuff. And they have podcasts about the difficult things going on in the world and such. And, sometimes they introduce the lighthearted stuff and sometimes they don't. But there's just different types of podcasts and creators for a whole different types of things. Yeah. And as long as you've known Dish and however long you've known me, you know that we just like to be free-spirited, have fun, have a good time, and just remember that in the midst of chaos, there's always a moment to hold on to and kind of find some joy in. So, what you know about Dish and Dish's content, I think, is what you can expect. Obviously, sometimes Dish can get serious, and we'll talk about serious things. And other times, she's just wailing. No, she doesn't wail.
What? Me wailing?
No, she doesn't wail. Other times, she's just doing her thing.
Yeah.
And similarly with me, if you've consumed any of my content. So, I think that's a good way to put it, no?
Yeah. I wasn't sure how we were going to get there, but I think that sums it up to some degree.
Yeah. Don't expect more out of us than what you've already seen.
Yeah. You're not going to see any dramatic shifts in personality or for us from here. Yeah. I think both of us try to be ourselves. We're not really persona operated content creators. Right. What you see is what you get, pretty much. Yeah.
So we got to head out to a musical.
We have to go to a musical, and one that is actually the main event of our trip here, so we can't be late.
So we can't miss it.
So this is a bit of a abrupt ending to our first podcast.
Apologies.
And there is definitely a part of me that is afraid I'm going to turn around that phone and it's not going to be recording. And I think I need to find a solution for that. But if you're watching or if you're listening, thank you for joining us for our first episode.
On...
Why are we doing... Wait, what is it again?
I don't remember.
What are we doing
here? Why are we here? What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
I guess is maybe what we'll call it. We're like...
What are we doing here?
What are we? I don't get it. What are we doing here? What are we?
What are we what?
That may or may not be the name. By the time this video goes up... You'll know.
And we'll look like idiots if that's not what it's called.
But anyways, we gotta go. So...
Peace out. Thank you.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Hope you enjoyed the beautiful view.
Bye. Bye. Hope you enjoy the kind of sunset in New York.
Brooklyn.
No sleep till.